And welcome to another edition of Sabre Spotlight on the Marian Sports Network. I am Wade Bates, and today we're talking Marian University softball with head coach Tony Draves. Is the season right around the corner, Tony? First of all, how's practice been going for the squad?
It's been going very well. We've got the injury bug a little bit, which we haven't had to deal with in the last couple of years, but we got a lot of young players, and we're working very hard.
A lot of energy in the program last year, coming off a great run into the NACC Tournament. You won a game, and you had a good showing last year.
Yeah, we had a very nice year, and we have a lot coming back. That was really important, but we also lost some key leadership from that class, and that's kind of where everybody's at right now. We're working extremely hard, but the big thing is with a big freshman class is about building chemistry, who's going to take on the new leadership roles, and some things like that.
Is it one of the things now where your program is at, Tony, expectations are to be in the NACC Tournament every year and compete for a conference championship?
Yeah, and most importantly, that doesn't come from me. That comes from our players and what they expect. And our players have set some lofty goals for this season, and so far they've done a very good job of matching the energy and the work needed to achieve some of those goals.
What are some of those lofty goals that your players have set?
Well, they want to eclipse our win total from last year. It was one of the top ones in the history of the program, and they want to not only make the conference tournament but have us be home team in a few games. And which was a huge difference in the last game last year. We kind of felt like the game to end our season, whoever batted last was going to win, and so they've set a lot of lofty goals, including in the classroom. They've done that as well.
Now, expectations, we talked about that going into practice and everything. What have you seen from your team in practice? You mentioned the injury bug is there, but from the women that are on the field, just talk about how those have been going.
Well, it's been good, and the injuries, you can sit around and you can complain about it, or you can look at it. It's an opportunity to develop depth and give other people opportunities that wouldn't normally get them, and things like that. And we've had a lot of kids kind of step up and surprise us a little bit, and do some things a little bit earlier than we thought they would.
And we've talked about this in the past too, but how much of an advantage is it for your program, being we're in Wisconsin in January, you're going to have snow on the ground 95% of the time, having the Lens Fieldhouse to get your squad ready for the opener?
I don't even remember how we used to practice without it. I don't. It's such an advantage. It's the last thing we show on every recruiting trip. That's what we finish with, and it's such a huge advantage for our infielders to not take ground balls that skip all over the place. Our ability to scrimmage, we can hit fly balls and just turn around and go very quickly from offense to defense in terms of a practice scenario, and we're just very, very lucky.
Have you ever done anything outside before the Lens Fieldhouse in this time of year, say if there's no snow on the ground? Because Reed Mayberry with lacrosse starting, before we got this snow this last couple of weeks, he said, hey, we may actually get outside and do some things here, because the ground was dry and the temperatures, we're into the upper 20s, thinking maybe we can do some work outside. How about for your program?
Well, we do parking lot stuff. It's very important for the outfielders to be out in the elements and the wind and stuff like that. So actually we had a warm stretch last year, the 2017 season. We played catch and took some fly balls the first day of practice in the end of January. We were on our parking lot and stuff. But because the infield takes a while for the frost to get out and stuff like that, we haven't been on our field at all.
Let's talk about your squad here. Let's start about pitching, and obviously you think you're going to have a strong staff again this year?
Yeah, they continue to do incredible work. Paige Rawhut is our lone returner in the circle, and she's even better. She's worked so hard to get better at some things she felt she really needed to. And then we have three freshmen that are going to duke it out for some time. Miranda Schuttenhelm, Peyton Loesch, and then Jade Margetko are all working very hard, and all three of them are also position players as well. They're just good softball players who happen to pitch.
How great is it to have a mentor in Paige who's had some success to kind of mentor those freshmen?
Yeah, they rely on her heavily, and the other thing, you'd think you'd like to have a junior or a senior or something like that, but having Paige as a sophomore isn't necessarily the worst thing, because she's only 12 months removed from her first game, and the beginning of her college career didn't necessarily go smooth for the first week or two, and then she just kind of took off after that. But she helps them through an awful lot.
How big of a jump is it to go from pitching at the high school level? I know now in softball you're probably playing 12 months out of the year, but to make that jump from high school softball pitching to facing different types of hitters in college softball?
Well, Paige actually describes it very well. She talks to our recruits about this, and everybody on a college team was somebody's high school 3 or 4 hitter, and so you're seeing a lineup full of those. And the strike zone is a little truer at the college level. You know, the umpires make you come in a little, especially on the outside corner. They make you come in a little bit and stuff like that. And the college ball is also built a little differently. It's a little tougher to spin than a high school ball. High school ball is easier to grab onto and things like that. So there are some other elements like that make it a little more difficult.
Coach, behind the plate, you have to replace somebody who maybe been one of the big leaders of your team, Sarah Tyrion. She's gone. She's not in the program anymore, at least on the field. And just talk about behind the plate.
Yeah, we're Olivia Hartley is returning. She's got a little injury bug right now herself, and we're hoping that turns out okay. She's a big part of what we do. She's one of our leaders, and offensively and defensively, and so much of what we do defensively runs through the catcher. And then there's a couple other catchers. Haley Polakowski, a sophomore from Berlin, is going to compete for some time, as well as Kenzie Wachter, a freshman from the area here. She went to St. Mary Springs High School.
I asked that same question about a freshman in the catching position. Obviously, the catcher, sometimes, you have to be able to work with the pitchers and such. How big of an adjustment is that for a high school catcher to move to the college ranks and see time right away?
We spend a lot of time counseling our catchers because they feel so overwhelmed at the beginning and stuff like that. And there's a huge learning curve for those kids. And they run all of our defense, our first and third plays, our bunt defenses. They do air traffic control when there's balls in the air and 2 fielders call the ball. We expect them to do that. So it's truly being thrown into the fire. The only thing that's tougher is being pitcher because you got that circle where you're kind of out there by yourself. But becoming a college catcher is extremely difficult.
Coach, let's go around the infield first. Can you talk about your infielders this year and who we may see at each position?
At first base will be a freshman as of right now, Peyton Loesch from Bolingbrook, Illinois, and she's a solid player. We thought she was going to be first base only, and then we might use her a little bit to pitch. And she had a great fall. She kind of slapped us in the face a little bit and said, "Hey, I got to get some mound time." So she's going to pitch a little more than we originally thought. Second base, Allie Fox. Obviously also a 2-sport athlete, had a great freshman year. Shortstop, Lindsey Strain, who's so important to everything we do and just so mature and so smart. And then as of right now, third base will be Rachel Sock, a junior. Just really a physical player, brings us a great attitude.
You mentioned Strainus and Fox, and I still remember last year that they played at Adrian in the Slats Cup semifinals. Yeah. They got in the car in a snowstorm. I know Lindsey Strainus' dad drove her up through the mitten of Michigan, I guess you could say, to get to your opener there. That just shows you those 2 young ladies, how dedicated they are to softball. Yeah, they're special people, and not just to play 2 sports, but to be so darn good at 2 sports is just amazing. But I tell people this all the time. Allie and Linz are even better off the field and off the ice. How about in the outfield, Coach?
We're going to be very young. Center field will be Alexa Rodriguez, a freshman from Northern Illinois, and then in left field will be Gianna Esposito, an incredibly talented young lady from the south side of Chicago. She's a sophomore, and then as of right now will be Taylor Lauscher, a sophomore as well from the Green Bay area. She'll be in right field. So, but we're deeper than we have been. So some of these spots are not locked down yet. We've still got some competition going on.
You've talked about hometowns and where some of your players are from, Coach, and you are a strong recruiting base, not only here in Wisconsin, but the Illinois, Chicago area. You're pretty strong down there finding talent, aren't you?
We spend a lot of time down there, and so we've done a very good job meeting some club coaches down in the area. We have a lot of kids come to our camps from the Chicago area, and it's there's a lot of good players down there as well as Wisconsin. We're not going to limit ourselves to where we go to find great players.
How does the recruiting work for you? I know you're talking to the coaches now. The internet's changed recruiting, and there's a lot of different ways you can find players. But but how do you approach it? How do you approach the recruiting process?
We don't use the internet a lot. We don't. I want to see players in person. I want to see them compete. I don't like the showcase mentality where they just play 6 games and everybody feels, I want to see them in bracket play and I want to see them go at it. And so if there's 2 teams playing out in a, wheat field or something somewhere, we're going to be there watching them, and we just want to see kids go at it. And Alexis and I work very hard at that.
Can you talk about Alexis Linen and what she's meant to your program? She's in year 2 as an assistant?
Yeah, she's in year number 2, and she's amazing. You know, she brings so much to our outfield, to the offensive part of our game, to the organization of things. And I have other duties on campus, so sometimes I get pulled in other directions, and she's just, you know, she just does a great job in relating to players, and has really been a good part of good softball all her life.
Coach, you have to find a tournament in Hawaii or Southern California or something where you guys can go out and enjoy the weather.
Yeah, we do. And I do want to mention my pitching coach as well. Aimee Sullivan, we call her Sully. You know, she's a full-time high school teacher over in Waupun, and then helps us afterwards. And she was the first phone call I made when I got this job. I wanted her on my staff, and she has really helped us turn things around and does an amazing job as well.
Now, before you get the conference season going, you head up to Michigan again to start things off, and then you head to Florida again. Kind of talk about what you're looking for in Michigan and going down to Florida.
Yeah, well, the prep for Michigan has been very interesting because we have a couple people that are injured. We don't know if Lindsey and Allie will be there, you know, because of hockey and things like that. So it's really also provided us some opportunities to move people around a little bit, and that's where the field house comes in big, is where you can do some of those other things, and we're not throwing kids someplace for the first time up in the dome when the scoreboard's flipped on. So our prep for Michigan has been interesting, but it's been extremely valuable to start moving some people around.
How about going down to Florida as well? You have a good collection of games there in a short period of time. I mean, traditionally, what have you learned about your squad when you go down to Florida and get the team together for such a long period of time, I guess, off campus?
Yeah, it's about players being comfortable, you know, and it's about also the difference between the college level and the high school level is in college we have specialists. You know, we have so many talented kids. We can hit 11, 12, 13 deep. So you find out who likes to come off the bench and pinch hit, who you can put in for a defensive specialist in the end of a game and things like that. And so Florida's valuable for that, having so many games in a short amount of time.
When you look for games and opponents when you go to Florida, I mean, do you have a pick of like who you schedule, or what kind of teams do you like to schedule to challenge your squad?
The tournament we're going to this year, the spring games, is so large. You rate some of your goals on a 5-point system, and then the people that schedule that tournament look for everyone within one rating point of you either way. And it could be from 1, we just want to survive, to 5, we want to compete for a national championship. You kind of tell them where your program's at, and then they try to match you up with like teams.
As a coach, do you like that going into maybe some of these games, or do you know a lot about the opponents that you're playing besides scouting maybe of games earlier in the tournament?
Yeah, we don't know a ton about them. We do a lot of charting. You know, try to put together some spray charts. Alexis does an amazing job with that from some of their stuff from last year. And every once in a while we'll make some phone calls and do some things like that. But that trip, you know, you hear this in other sports, it's more about us than it is about the other team until we get back up here, up north.
What's your take on the NACC this season, Coach?
It's going to be goofy. You know, it's really from top to bottom, the league has improved so much, and some of the programs that have traditionally been near the bottom have some really great coaches right now. And if you go away with a sweep in any weekend, you know, be it home or away, you're going to feel lucky about that.
So what are some of the things that have to happen with the Marian softball program if you want to push your way up towards the top of the standings this year?
I think to avoid the bad loss. I think the last 2 years, you know, we've kind of put ourselves in some difficult spots, not because of what we did against the teams at the top, but some of the teams that we feel like we maybe should have had a little more success, and a couple splits here and there that maybe we should have taken care of business. I think the growth of this program first has to be to consistently beat the teams we need to beat.
Coach, it should be a fun ride. Again, end of February, you head to Michigan to play up in the Dome up there, and then head down to Florida for – how long are you in Florida?
8 days.
8 days in Florida. And how many games do you play?
10 varsity and 4 reserve games.
So a lot of time. Not much time to enjoy the sun, right, because you're working the whole trip.
No, beautiful farmer tan. That's what we usually get. So.
Well, Coach, if people want to take a look at anything about Marian women's softball, they can check out sabreathletics.com. If maybe you're a potential recruit watching this, you can learn about the program, and there's, I know, a Recruit Me button at some point down there as well. So fill out the information. It should be a fun year.
Yeah, can't wait.
Marian softball coach Tony Draves on the Sabre Spotlight here on the Marian Sports Network.